Welcome to a brand new weekly Parsha Thoughts for the Parshiot of Chukat and Balak. I'm Cantor Spiro from the Song Shul, and this is the first of our summer series of Parsha Thoughts for 2026. I hope that your summer is off to a fantastic start, and it's really nice to have you here joining us for this thought on the Torah. As I noted earlier, this week we have a double Parsha, and the two Parshiot of Chukat and Balak have something in common. Parshat Chukat begins with the mysterious Para Aduma, the red heifer, a mitzvah that defies human logic. The idea of the red heifer is that if a Kohen becomes ritually impure by coming into contact with anything that is dead, the Kohen can become pure again by sprinkling himself with a mixture of the ashes of a red heifer and water. As I said, defying human logic. Rashi, citing the Midrash, teaches that its purpose is ultimately known only to God. Even the great and wise King Solomon admitted in his writings of Koheles, Ecclesiastes, "I thought I could become wise, but it remained far from me." We must remember that we are a people of faith, emunah. Just because God is not visible does not mean that he is not here all the time. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, the intellectual founder of the Torah im Derech Eretz school of Judaism, notes that Jewish survival has always depended not on just understanding everything, but on remaining faithful to our mission. So let's look at this again. The entire concept of contamination, of coming into contact with anything that is dead, then mixing the ashes of a dead animal, namely a red heifer, and when mixed with water having the properties of ritual purification, is in itself a complete paradox. So, is there possibly a hidden message? Well, let me offer you this. Healing, purity, help, survival may at times all arrive from an improbable source. Let's look at some examples where God has himself thrown a proverbial spanner in the works. For instance, the greatest king that Israel ever had, David HaMelech, King David, came from a controversial lineage. Let's go back in time and discover what this lineage is. Boaz begot Oved, and Oved begot Yishai, and Yishai begot David. Boaz was married to Ruth, a Moabite woman, the consummate Jew by choice, who pledged that your people will be my people. And this Moabite woman was the ancestor of the king of Israel, King David, David HaMelech. Let's look at where the greatest prophet of the Jewish people, Moses, came from. Moses, brought up by an Egyptian princess and lived in Pharaoh's palace as an Egyptian prince. Ran away to live in Midian as a shepherd, and subsequently at almost 80 years old had an encounter in the desert with a burning bush that would not be extinguished. This supernatural encounter culminated in God choosing Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, in what is now known as the Exodus. Moses, with whom God spoke panim el panim, face to face, grew up not even knowing his own people, having a speech impediment, and was reluctant to become God's emissary. The greatest prophet that ever walked the earth. And how did it end up being Moses? All right, let's look at Joseph, the favorite son of Jacob. Joseph, the object of deep favoritism shown by his father, a 17-year-old youth, vain, narcissistic, who had dreams about his own grandeur and couldn't resist telling his brothers how they would all eventually bow down to him. Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers, who was taken away from his father's house in Canaan and ended up in a strange new country, abandoned, forgotten, all alone. Joseph, who was thrown into prison on false charges, yet later became Pharaoh's advisor, eventually becoming the viceroy and second most powerful man in Egypt. Joseph, who had the power and opportunity to take revenge on all his brothers for what they did to him. But he didn't. He grew and became known as Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph the righteous person. So let's go back to the halakha, the Jewish law, which is coming into contact with anything dead renders a Kohen ritually tameh, impure. Yet the ashes from that deceased red heifer can purify that Kohen. You see, things are not always what they seem. Or to use a phrase from one of my favourite Broadway musicals, Wicked, it's just looking at things another way. And indeed in Parshat Balak, it is all about seeing blessing where others see threat. Parshat Balak teaches that even when others seek to curse, God can transform negativity into blessing. The story, right? King Balak hired the heathen prophet Bilam to weaken Israel. Yet every attempted curse emerged as words of praise. The Spiro explains that God's protection of Israel does not depend on political strength alone, but on a spiritual mission that cannot be erased. The 16th century sage and commentator, the Kli Yakar, notes that Bilam's donkey saw the angel before Bilam himself did, reminding us that arrogance can blind even the most talented people. Sometimes truth is visible only to those who approach life with anivut, with humility. Perhaps most striking is Bilam's famous words. Whilst trying to utter curses against the children of Israel, pronounced these iconic words: Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, praising the unique tenets of Israel and how the Israelites lived together. Jewish strength begins in the home, where values are transmitted midor ledor, from generation to generation. This week's Parshiot of Chukat and Balak remind us that in a world filled with noise, hostility, and uncertainty, even when events seem on the surface confusing, placing bitachon, placing trust in our one God and steadfast commitment to our Torah transforms uncertainty into resilience, strength, and ultimately, hope. Shabbat Shalom.
This week, members of the Song Shul observe yortzites for the following people: Roxana Wiseman, Rachel Bat Yechiel, mother of Phyllis Wiseman; Izzy Snipaliski, Yitzchak Michael, father of Marianne Failer; Lily Dobrinsky, Shana Leah Bat Charna, mother of Sharon Goldman; Goldie Landis, Golda Rosa, mother of Lorraine Landis; and Samuel Lewis Shields, Yehuda Shlomo ben Yonatan Chanoch, father of Victor Shields. May their memories be for a blessing, and may their neshamot have aliyot at this time. This week we celebrate the birthdays of these members of the Song Shul: Sarah Zagdansky, Lynn Simon, David Jubei, and Brigitte Barsalou.
Mazal Tov and Yom Holedet Sameach to all our Song Shul members celebrating birthdays this coming week. And to all our Song Shul members commemorating yortzites for your loved ones, we wish you all Chaim Aruchim, long life. And may the neshamot of your loved ones have an aliyah at this time. And we all say, Amen. Well, here we are. I hope you're enjoying your summer wherever you are. We're so excited to announce that the Song Shul is now accepting membership renewals, as well as brand new membership opportunities. All the details are on the Song Shul website at songshul.com. Meanwhile, I hope that these pre-Shabbat Divrei Torah provide you with a little strength and inspiration each week. So we'll see you again next Friday. Shabbat Shalom.